All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're exploring a pretty unusual take on leadership. I mean, this isn't about learning new management tricks or productivity hacks. Nope. This goes way deeper. We're talking about how a leader's own internal state, their state of being, can literally ripple outwards and change an entire organization.
And this quotes, it really nails it. The whole idea we're unpacking here is probably going to challenge how you think about influence. It suggests that real, powerful leadership has less to do with frantic action and more to do with a cultivated presence. And it all starts with a very strange, very specific story. And that story, believe it or not, is all about catching a fly. Yeah, I know, it sounds almost silly, right? But this one tiny moment becomes the anchor for a really profound philosophy on leadership. So, picture this. It's a scene you know all too well. An office, there's a fly buzzing around, driving everyone nuts. Someone's swatting at it like a maniac, but the fly is just zipping around, dodging every move. It's chaotic, it's annoying, and it is completely ineffective. We've all been there.
But here's where it gets interesting. Instead of joining the chaos, the person telling the story has a totally different experience. As they watch this fly's crazy path, something inside just flips. A sudden, deep calm just washes over them. You know all that mental noise, the internal chatter we all have? It just stops. And in that quiet, a single crystal clear thought emerges. I will catch that fly. Not I'll try or I hope, but I will. So what happens next is pretty wild. In this state of total calm, it feels like time slows down. The fly's movement doesn't seem so random anymore. Suddenly, there's a pattern to it. Their hand just moves, almost like it has a mind of its own, not to where the fly is, but to where it's about to be. They close their hand, and boom, they've got it. Effortless. And this contrast is everything. The frantic swatting, that's all action, all about reacting to the chaos with this desperate urge to control. And it was getting them nowhere. The calm catch, on the other hand, came from a place of pure presence. It wasn't about control, it was about a deep sense of knowing that allowed them to see the hidden pattern. And the result? Totally effortless. The real lesson wasn't about catching a fly, it was about the incredible power of that internal state. Okay, so here's the job. How does this personal story, this moment of zen with a fly, have anything to do with leadership? How does that calm presence apply when you're leading a whole organization through some real systemic chaos? Well, this is the core insight right here. When a system is super complex and unpredictable, your biggest point of leverage isn't trying to control everything on the outside. It's about an internal transformation. The most powerful thing you can do is actually change yourself to allow the system around you to adapt and find its own way forward. So, let's see how this played out in the real world. Because this isn't just some nice idea or a thought experiment. This philosophy was actually put to the test in a seriously complex and chaotic environment. The place was the Toby Hanna Army Depot, right after a huge merger. And the situation was a textbook case of chaos. You had people who were disoriented, you had major culture clashes, communication was a mess, totally fragmented, everybody was just constantly putting out fires, which of course led to total leader burnout and decision fatigue. In a mess like this, your standard leadership playbook is pretty much useless. So they needed a whole new framework, and the approach they took was built on 3 really key theories that, when you put them together, create this powerful new model for leading through complexity. The first idea is called emergence. Think about a flock of birds, right? There's no CEO bird shouting orders. That beautiful, synchronized pattern just emerges from the simple interactions between individual birds. So for an organization, this means leadership isn't about directing every single move. It's about creating the right conditions for good, smart, unexpected patterns to emerge all on their own. The second pillar is something called vertical development. Now, this isn't about learning more facts or skills. Think of it more like upgrading your entire mental operating system. It's not about what you think, but how you think. It's about expanding your own ability to sit with complexity and uncertainty without panicking and trying to force a simple answer. And the third piece of this puzzle is probably the one you'd least expect: an AI as a coach. But here's the critical difference. The AI wasn't there to give answers, not at all. It was designed to be a thought partner, a kind of mirror. Its job was to help leaders see their own hidden assumptions and thinking patterns more clearly. It helped them get comfortable just being in that not knowing space, which, it turns out, is where all the real growth happens. So what did this actually look like day to day?
how do you practice this stuff? Well, it was all structured into a 6-week program focused on building awareness, noticing patterns, and learning to embrace complexity instead of fighting it.
The weekly rhythm was pretty simple but powerful. First, they'd have a 30 to 45-minute reflective chat with their AI thought partner. Second, they'd journal, but specifically to track insights and notice any shifts in their own language. Like, were they moving from words of control to words of curiosity? And third, a weekly review to really connect those inner shifts to what they were seeing out in the organization. And the prompts they used in those AI sessions, man, they were designed to go deep. Questions like, what am I not seeing? Or what uncertainty am I resisting? And this one is just so powerful. What's trying to emerge here? See, these questions are built to bypass that part of our brain that just wants a quick fix and instead open us up to totally new ways of seeing things. But the big question is, does all this inner work actually change anything on the outside? Does it have a real impact? Absolutely. This is where you see the ripple effect, how a leader's personal practice creates tangible, measurable results for the entire organization. And you can draw a direct line from the inner work to the outer impact. For instance, when a leader practices just pausing and expanding their perception, what you see is the organization making more timely, better aligned decisions. When they foster a sense of openness within themselves, they get better at spotting and rewarding all the creative ideas bubbling up from their teams. And when they start letting go of their own old assumptions, they make it possible to finally get rid of outdated bureaucratic processes. So what we're talking about is a totally different way of leading. It's not command and control. It's about cultivating potential, about witnessing what's happening, and holding the space for the system to find its own intelligence. It's about leading with powerful questions, not just easy answers. So the big takeaway is this. This entire approach, from catching a tiny fly to transforming a massive organization, all starts with one simple internal shift. And that leaves us with a question to ask ourselves. What is trying to emerge in your world, on your team, or even just in your own life, if you just paused long enough to truly notice?